Okay, so you may have noticed that when you go to draw shapes in Illustrator, um, you have to draw them, and if you're going to apply patterns to them, especially, you have to draw them perfectly the first time for the pattern not to get distorted. Where if these were just filled with regular fill, we would be able to do this, and then we would grab the edge and we would adjust. And in this case, because of the way the patterns interact with free transform, the pattern gets distorted here. But we can actually change a setting to allow the pattern to remain undistorted. So I'm going to hit Control Z. This is my original. Let's say I've drawn this. I want these two to line up across the page. This is how I have my mass art students do their colorways for their textile design portfolios. We are going to right click on it while it's selected, transform, scale. And we are going to change this to just 100. Okay, nothing's changing at all. And now we are going to uncheck transform patterns. All right, and we are going to leave that unchecked and hit OK. So nothing's changed. All we've done is change that one option. And now the pattern remains the same. And actually, no matter how I distorted it, the pattern would remain the same. So these same rules apply to things like rotation, right? Let's say I wanted to do a page where the page was split at like a cool angle, like this or whatever. The ducks here are not moving, and that's actually good. That's what I wanted. But we might want the ducks to move or whatever. Um, we can change whether the pattern moves with the rotation, whether the pattern moves with any of those things by also checking, right clicking, transform, and then rotate, move, shear. All of these are affected by that option. Okay, so if we choose rotate, we can check off transform patterns and hit OK. And now the pattern should rotate with the shape. Come on. Stupid thing. Of course, now it's not letting me. I cannot imagine why this is happening. That rotate always shows up there. Oh well. Hopefully you get the idea. Let's also talk about move, right? As we move these shapes around on the page, right, let's notice like that this duck it's splitting its eye in half. And as we move it, it's still splitting its eye in half. But if you've done something like, you've drawn your two rectangles, and maybe you copied and pasted them or something like that. Something that can easily end up having things not line up anymore. First off, reapplying the pattern to these can sometimes work. So if we click and then we click on the other one, sometimes that will realign things. But we can also, oh my God, I don't know if this lecture is going that well, but I think we can also double click on the swatch and it hits done and it kind of like resets the pattern. Yeah, okay. And then if we move them, things can get unaligned again sometimes. Or if we wanted to uh, switch the sides or whatever. So before we move them, they're aligned. Before we move them, we can select them both, right click, transform, move, and uncheck transform patterns. And again, we don't actually have to move it anywhere right now. These can just be on 0. And we can check off preview. I guess that doesn't matter. We can hit OK. And now when we move them, the ducks stay in the same place and the shape moves around them. And so there is a seamless repeat. Okay, so if you've drawn your rectangles and you want them to line up and they don't, try selecting them and double clicking on the patterns. And then also be aware that all of these transform options, like even shear, they all have the transform patterns option. And that can be used as kind of like a toggle on and off for this type of movement, right? Do you want the pattern to rotate with the object or do you not? That kind of thing. So keep that in mind. Sorry, this lecture was a little rocky, but I'm going to keep it. Trying to be less picky about these things sometimes, and hopefully that was helpful.